Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another Tea Time with Tia. Hope you guys like the new border that is here. I like it a lot. Our editor-in-chief, Kanan, made it for me, so I'm liking it. I'm digging it. And I got a bunch of things here. I'm recording this on my old laptop that I dug out of the closet because I just did not like what the Lenovo was doing when I was moving. It was kind of stalling out, if I don't know, or lagging, sorry. Stalling out isn't the right word for it, but I just didn't like it. So I decided to dig this out because with what I was using before was my Chromebook, but it doesn't have this program to do this border. Not that you guys really need to know that, but here you go. And I don't know if you see, these are really cute earrings that Brittany made. And of course, you can find her, Itty Bitty Brit. She's on Twitch. She's a fantastic streamer. In fact, she is my co-host on the top 10 that I do every weekend. So yeah, before we get any further, I have a few things. Before we get any further into the video, I have my tea with me. That is quite hot. And I also have a new coldest water bottle. And I have been telling you guys that we are sponsored by Coldest Water Bottle. I had this little baby one before, which I do like, but I got a new one, which, I guess it's flip, sorry. But I like it. This is a 21 ounce. I like it in red, and it twists off like this. It's very cold. It was good to take on a walk. It's really hot out, and also to kind of keep water cold for my dog as well, who, if you have a small dog, especially, she has all black fur, so it gets really hot for her, so this is great. Here's Polly.
Cleaning the house.
Cleaning the house as I'm doing this. Thank you, Polly. But today's tea time will be reviewing Quibi's The Fugitive. If you have not watched it, there are going to be some spoilers. I promise I won't give too many there, but there will be some. So just be forewarned. I have done a few reviews on Quibi's The Fugitive, and I also had the I also was able to speak with the star of The Fugitive, Boyd Holbrook, and that was really exciting. I will make sure to link that down below. But today, they just released their final few episodes of the season, and I do have some thoughts. So there's 14 episodes in total. If you know anything about Quibi, everything is very short form. Every episode is about 7 to 8 minutes long. In fact, the final episode for Quibi was only about 5 minutes and 12 seconds. So, very short, easy to breeze through. It stars Boyd Holbrook, Kiefer Sutherland, Tiya Sircar, and I really was excited for The Fugitive, particularly because I'm a big Boyd Holbrook fan. And I did really enjoy his character. So The Fugitive follows the story of Boyd Holbrook as Mike Farrow, who was recently released from prison 6 months prior to the show starting. You see that he's trying to get his life back on track when, unfortunately, he gets let go from his current job. And just this is the setup here as to why then he suddenly gets framed for something that he doesn't do. He's pretty much at the wrong place at the wrong time while there is a subway bombing, and because he had a very public arrest 3 years prior, and the fact that he was just fired from a new job kind of makes him public enemy number one, in the sense that the feds believe it's him, and the media, the reporter, automatically assumes that's him because she gets played by Tiya Sircar. Her character's name is Priti Patel, and because she gets footage of the subway bombing and sees that he's there, she automatically sends out to the media, sends out to the masses that Mike Farrow could be a potential suspect, which then gets Kiefer Sutherland's character going with that narrative as well. Very, it obviously, so The Fugitive was a TV show, it was a movie starring Harrison Ford, so it follows still that same plot line, but with a modern day twist, because obviously everything is so accessible now with social media that a reporter like Pretty can tweet that out so easily, and it just reached thousands of people instantly, and suddenly Mike Farrow's life is on the line because now everyone thinks that he is responsible for this terrible subway bombing that even killed his parole officer. So that's another reason why they think he was involved, because they were saying, oh well, he just got let go from his job, he just did a stint in prison. But what they don't know is that Boyd Holbrook's character, Mike Farrow, really liked his parole officer. In fact, they were friends. Played by Malcolm Goodwin, who played Clive on iZombie, so I was really excited to see him. But spoiler alert, I guess he was killed within the first or second episode, so that sucked. But Mike is now on the run, trying to outrun the feds, trying to outrun the public's perception of himself, all the while also trying to track down the real bomber, because this person is still planning additional bombs. And while this is happening, Mike's wife is also taken into custody because they believe she may be an accomplice to Mike's crime, even though she has no idea what's going on, and neither does Farrow necessarily. So what I felt from The Fugitive right away was that it was very similar to the movie Richard Jewell. I liked Richard Jewell. I know that it had some controversy behind it. Some people weren't happy. I enjoyed it. And as someone who is in journalism, granted, I am a journalist in the case of news in regards to movies and TV shows, but I did go to school for broadcast journalism. I was planning at some point in my life going into journalism in more of a newsworthy sense. So I do know that the manipulation of journalism is very real. That is 100% real. It did happen with Richard Jewell. It happens all the time. There are so many people out there who are imprisoned for crimes that they absolutely did not commit. People's lives are slandered by the media because it is very much a let's report now, do the fact checking later. And I get that. That is 100% real. So it's real in this case. But I didn't appreciate how overzealous they made Pretty. I didn't necessarily like how almost, how ignorant Kiefer Sutherland's character was to the truth. He had people working under him who several times throughout the series tried to tell him, hey, maybe we should be looking at someone else other than Mike Farrow. Maybe we're jumping the gun here. And maybe you're also a little too emotionally involved, because you find out that Kiefer Sutherland's character, his wife had passed away in 9/11, so he obviously took this job very seriously, the fact that there were subway bombings and more bombings planned out. So it just seems like irresponsibility on the part of the feds and the journalists that they so easily wanted to pin it on Mike. And when I say irresponsible, not just the fact that they were irresponsibly destroying some innocent man's life, but also the fact that what if it wasn't him? Now the real bomber is on the loose, which he was, and they're not doing anything to stop him because they're too busy following a false lead. And I hate using the term fake news because of how it's been used by certain people, and I certainly don't even subscribe to that notion, because I do think that the media does have a responsibility to hold certain people in political power responsible, and people in power responsible regardless. It just seemed with this show in particular, and I don't think that this show should really create any sort of dialogue with that. I just don't think that it's big enough, and I didn't think that it was deep enough to cause that. I think that we could definitely have that sort of conversation when it comes to a movie like Richard Jewell, but I don't think that we can have that conversation with The Fugitive. By the way, get yourself a man who likes to clean like mine.
Gotta keep the house clean. We have 4 cats, 4 actually,
Yeah.
and a dog. So hair is a mess everywhere.
Hair?
Every day.
Every day.
Look at this, one swipe. Look at that mop. Terrible. Sorry.
Terrible, but sorry. My point is that I just don't think that The Fugitive really was anything to cause the dialogue. And I think in that, because it really isn't there to create a dialogue, it then just became cartoonish. Kiefer Sutherland's character, Detective Bryce Clay, was a little, I don't want to say annoying to me. I would use that, in fact, for pretty, which is terrible. But Bryce Clay just wasn't necessarily a likable character because he was so old school in the fact that, again, it became stereotypical and cartoonish of what you would imagine, say, a detective or a cop in some 1980s Die Hard film. That's kind of what he was like, and I just don't think that that fits in 2020. I wish that he had listened a little more to his detectives. I did, though, like that once they did, spoiler alert, find out that Mike Farrow wasn't the killer, that he was able to admit that and quickly want to clear Mike's name and then go for the real killer. So I did appreciate that he does, in fact, become somewhat of, not the hero, he doesn't become the hero, but he does become a redeemable character. And I think he's redeemable because he has the 2 people under him who he counts as family. And even though he's brash, and even though he, likes to punch out feds or whatever, they still consider him family and they're still behind him. So that is very nice to have. I did appreciate that. Priti Patel, Tiya Sircar, which we share a name, obviously, although she spells it differently, but it's pronounced the same way. But her character had an opportunity to be a little more fleshed out. You find out that obviously she has some sort of complex where she needs to excel a little more. Her parents are clearly parents who have high expectations for her that she probably hasn't met at some point in her life. So this, she feels, is her opportunity to try to meet those sort of expectations because she's the one who, first reported the name of the real bomber, and she put it out there on the internet, and she was at the heart of the reporting. And it's, again, some of that irresponsible journalism there, because she does have a superior who is questioning her, saying that she's very brash, she is not thinking correctly, and she is just rushing all of this without doing any sort of background information and how irresponsible. I know I keep using that word, but it's the word that's coming to my head right now. But then Priti Patel's boss, the actual owner of the news site, is just very caricature of a millennial who is like, yeah, I love it, let's do this, and that just further, unfortunately, pushes this whole narrative that Mike Farrow is the bomber when he is in fact not at all. So let's talk about Mike Farrow now that we finally I got out of the way my kind of problems with The Fugitive. Let's talk about Mike Farrow. Again, played by Boyd Holbrook, who I've mentioned in previous reviews. I do enjoy him as an actor. He played Detective Steve Murphy in the first 2 seasons of Narcos on Netflix. He was the villain Donald Pierce in 2017's Logan. I have liked him. He's not always been in the best things. I know that the version of Predator that he was in, I haven't seen it yet, so maybe I'll change my mind. But I know that the consensus is that people didn't enjoy it very much. But I think that he's good as someone who came from a modeling background and is now in acting. I certainly think that he needs more recognition. I just think that he needs better projects. It's the same thing like Joel Kinnaman. I don't think that people realize how good of an actor he is because the projects that he says yes to aren't always the best. But he certainly puts all of his effort in. Boyd Holbrook and Joel Kinnaman. But let's talk about Boyd Holbrook. So he plays Mike Farrow. As I said, Mike Farrow is just a blue-collar working man. In an interview from the creator of The Fugitive, Nick Santoro, who actually also did Quibi's Most Dangerous Game, which was fantastic. That stars Liam Hemsworth and Christoph Waltz. I did a tea time on that, so you can check that out. I'll link that below too. But yeah, so my point is that the point is that Mike Farrow is relatable because he's just an everyday guy. There's really nothing outstandingly special about him. He's just someone who is trying to do right by his wife, trying to do right by his daughter, and he had some bumps in the road, which so many people do. And I guess there could be a bigger conversation, which also was kind of touched upon in the first Ant-Man. There could be a bigger conversation on, say, how difficult it is for those who went to prison to find work and rebuild their lives after prison, especially for someone like Mike Farrow, where you find out that what he went to prison for wasn't even necessarily his fault either. So you can see where Mike Farrow does not want history to repeat itself. His wife and child have been through enough. And this is a really serious crime that they are accusing him as. So he's willing to do anything, and he does a few times. There are a few times that I was like, Mike, that doesn't look good. Literally, say, stealing from a store to steal a burner phone, or, going to a dangerous neighborhood to try to reason with someone that he shared a cell with, even though now he's also threatening them as well. There were definitely times in the show that I thought that Mike Farrow's actions were very questionable, but it shows that people can get desperate when they are put into a corner. And that's certainly what happens with him. But he, throughout all of it, remained a good person. He never intentionally harmed anyone. He, saw that he was very remorseful anytime, say, he had to steal a burner phone or something. His main thing also not only was to clear his name, but to also stop a bombing from happening, because he knew that another bombing was going to happen. He knew that people were going to get hurt, people were going to get killed. So I like that about his character. Sorry, I hear something, guys. Oh, it's in there. Sorry. But I like that about his character, that it wasn't just about himself, it was about people as well. I enjoyed that. It was very much a man on the run. Like with most Quibi originals, I feel that they are good. It's good storytelling, but I wish that there were more. I wish that, say, with something like this with The Fugitive, either that it was an actual movie, or if they were going to do a TV show, do a mini series where maybe each episode is about a half hour, 40 minutes long, to really develop. I would love to know more about Mike Farrow's relationship with his wife, know a little bit more about him, because there wasn't, say, a whole lot of character development. There were some here and there, but when you have each episode as 8 minutes and him more on the run, you didn't get a whole lot. It wasn't the same as Most Dangerous Game, where even though it was also Liam Hemsworth's character on the run, you got more character development and more background information as to who this man is, as opposed to with Mike Farrow. And I think that he could have definitely been interesting enough for them to develop more about that. So I do wish that they had done that. I know that I sound like I'm criticizing this a lot. I did find with the final episodes things were a little, say, too convenient. Mike Farrow is able to do something very technical to stop the bomber, that I thought that sort of thing was just, as I said, too convenient. He researched it on the internet. that's such to me a lazy explanation to say that someone knows how to defuse a bomb because he read it on the internet. I just felt that, okay, come on, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, he is a smart guy. We see that he is a smart individual, and he was a very successful individual before going to prison the first time. So, hey, what do I know? But that's the thing, is that we don't get that when we have, say, so little time with these characters. But so even though that was a little disappointing, and as I said, I think things were a little too much, say, wrapped up in a bow. But besides that, I did really like the conclusion with Kiefer Sutherland's character. I'm sorry, I know that I should maybe be rooting for the woman or something in this case, but I was so happy with what happened with Pretty. She definitely got her just dessert for being so incredibly irresponsible. I loved Mike Farrow's wife. She was a very strong woman who held her ground, was motherly enough, loved Mike, never doubted him once for a moment, and certainly stood her own when it was her time to be interrogated. So I really liked her. So the ending with Mike and his family was good. The ending with Kiefer Sutherland's Clay Rice was really good as well, especially with his two teammates. So I like that. All in all, it wrapped up nicely in a bow. It had a very good ending, a satisfying ending for those who have been watching the show every single day. I just wish that there was more. I just wish that there was more time to develop these characters. I wish that there was more time to see what the hell is going on. But besides that, the production was good. It's had the action that you wanted to. It had moments that kept you on the edge of your seat. I think we all knew from all along that Mike Farrow was innocent, so that was never called into question. It was just whether or not the detectives were going to figure that out. At that point, I did not care what the actual media said. I didn't care any of that because it was obvious that just wasn't, the truth was not something that Priti Patel and her boss were looking for. But if I were, say, her superior, I definitely would get out of that company, because clearly he wants to be in a company that has more integrity, and the company that Priti works for has no integrity at all. But yeah, I liked it. If I have to rate the entire series out of 5, I would give it a 3, which I know sounds kind of harsh and sounds like maybe I didn't particularly like it. I did enjoy it, even though I can recognize that it needed a lot of help and it needed a lot of finer tuning. But please let me know what you guys thought. If you've watched Quibi's The Fugitive, I still think that it is a worthy original in their app. I don't always think that their app is the greatest out of all of the content that they have. Still, the series that I would suggest is Most Dangerous Game, The Stranger, which is actually trending right now on Twitter, so that's cool. So Most Dangerous Game, The Stranger, and The Fugitive. I would recommend that. Besides that, Quibi has some really not so good content, like Dummy, but it's $5.99 a month. They do have they stopped offering the 49-day free trial. I think right now it's a 12-day free trial, but considering everything is 7 minutes each, you can definitely do that free trial. Binge watch the 3 shows that I just suggested to you. And I know that people also like Survival, even though I really couldn't complete it. So make sure you check that out. As you can see in our nice border, we have the usernames to our social media handles. So make sure you just check us out, Geek5s Nation. Let us know what you liked about The Fugitive. If you've even checked out The Fugitive, I do certainly hope that Boyd Holbrook continues to get work and that people actually recognize that he's a pretty talented individual. As I said, I will link my interview with him below, and I will also link the tea time that I did for Most Dangerous Game. But again, everyone, it was great speaking with you. I hope that you enjoyed the new border here. Let me know. And make sure you check out our affiliate code for coldest water bottle. And I will see you on the next Tea Time with Tiya. Bye!